I'd like to share with you something nice on this week's Parshas Vayechi from the Rebbe's father, Reb Levi Yitzchok. This Pirush, the Rebbe's father wrote on the margins of the pages of the Tanya that he had in Tzili, in Kazakhstan. And I would like to share with you this beautiful explanation. The Gemara says in Chagiga daf Tesomad Beis, there's a difference between two tzaddikim. One is a lo yavodo, even though he's a tzaddik, he doesn't serve Hashem, and the other one is a Oved Elekim. And the Gemara says, a lo yavodo is somebody who learns something 100 times. A Oved Elekim is someone who learns 101 times. And Alter Rebbe explains that the custom and the nature and the habit of learning at that time was 100 times. When someone exerts, toils, invests energy more than his nature, more than what he's accustomed to, his habit, the 101 times, that's a true Oved Elekim, somebody who serves Hashem. And then the Gemara says, Moshul Mishuk Shachamorah. It's an example of a market of donkey riders where you pay one zuz for a distance of 10 parsa. You pay 2 zuz for a distance of 11 parsa. Same idea. 10 parsa was the nature. You go above and beyond of the nature, you pay even double. Same thing over here. Oved Elekim, someone who learns more than his habit, what the custom was, and that's the 101 times. Brings the Rebbe's father and asks a question. Why do we compare this? Why everything in Gemara is exact? Moshul Mishuk Shachamorah. Why donkey? Why not horse or camel? What's so special about donkey? Brings the Rebbe's father, the Eitz Chaim from the Arizal in Shar HaZivugim Perek Vov, says like this. He explains the Gemara. There is a malach that's called Mas, Mem Samach. This malach is not a good malach. He's a bad malach, a malach ra. His job is what's called shikchas haTorah, that you should forget what you learn. Mas, says the Arizal, adds up to 100, Mem Samach. As long as you learn something up to 100, this malach can have a shlita. He could have an influence on you, and you should forget what you learn. The moment you learn 101 times, you go out of his league, out of his realm. He cannot have any influence on you. You'll never forget what you have learned. Then the Rebbe's father continues, and that's why this malach is called Mas. Some say that's also the meaning of Samach Mem, Samach 60, Mem 40, 100. Says the Rebbe's father, all this, what Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, a person does more than his teva, more than his nature, his regilus, the 100 times, 101 times, is all hinted in this week's Parsha. Which Shevet is compared to a donkey? Yisachar. Yisachar Chamor Gora in Parshas Vayechi. Yisachar was known. He was the tribe from all the difference with all the other Shvatim who excelled in learning Torah. Bnei Yisachar Yoidei Bina, like Rashi brings down. That's where you find that he was the first of the Nesiim, because from him came out Torah. They excelled in learning Torah. Now look at the bracha, so interesting. That says by the end of this bracha of this week's Yankov gave to Yisachar. It says, Vayehi lemas Oved. The simple meaning of that verse is that he became a servant. He was Oved lemas, under task work. Says the Rebbe's father. Look at what it says of it. This is the pshat, hinting to the Gemara, the Arizal, and also what Alter Rebbe says. Vayehi lemas. This Yisachar who's compared to Chamoid. He learned lemas. Mas is 100, like the Arizal says. But not only 100, Oved. He learned 101, like it says, and Alter Rebbe explains the Gemara in Chagiga. So this whole Gemara with the Arizal, this malach of Shikha, that he's mas 100, Yisachar, he learned the 101, he was an Oved. And that's why it's compared to Moshe Meshuk Chamorim, because Yisachar was compared to a Chamor. And just to finalize a very interesting thing, that the Tzemach Tzedek in Torah once brings this Inyan, and he says also beautiful remez. Zochor Zayin Chof Reish adds up to 227. Shochach Shin Chof Ches adds up to 328. Remembering, 227. Forgetting is 328. The difference between them, the difference between 227 and 328 is exactly 101. Says that Tzemach Tzedek, based on this whole Arizal also, that when you learn 101, the remez is between Zecher and Shochach, the difference is the 101 that you won't forget, like the Arizal says, and all this is hinted in this week's Parsha, Vayechi, Lamas, Oived, Agad Shabbos.